Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the main event. We're here at the Tower Project. It's Saturday morning, and you know what that means. It's siege time. And this is, without a doubt, one of the most incredible, adrenaline-rushing sieges that I have ever played in my literally thousands of hours and over 10 years of playing Medieval 2. This may even be the best. I mean, this is so close. The players are so good. I do not even know that I am worthy to commentate this battle. And so, welcome to the Siege of Ages. Immediately out of the gate, Allen Light Cavalry by Arm How Do You Do coming out of the gate, going right after the Turkish artillery, and he's just moved all the way over here. Cavalry is responding, but it's too late, and disaster strikes our attacking team right off the gate. Beautiful charge by the Allen Light Cavalry, taking out that rocket launcher crew. And they are going to get surrounded by the Timurid army, but it's mission accomplished for the Allen Light Cavalry. Rocket launcher is out of the game. Walls beginning to come down. Our Timurid ally, Kublai Khan, commanding the western side of the attacking force, taking on the citadel, the fortress here, Southern European fortress. In the center, we have Venice, captained by Russian King, also known as Spetsnaz, another incredible player. I would say if you added up all of the hours clocked in Medieval 2 of all the players in this siege, it would be well over 15,000 hours. And I'm commanding the eastern side of our attack, and I'm playing as Portugal. And you can see my artillery has been taken down the wall. I've got Aventuros screening for my artillery. Musketeers on the side. General's bodyguard making sure that a cavalry attack is not successful against my army. Now, also commanding the defense, Lavernicus as Sicily. And we have RXN, Rogue Chivalry, a very old, very experienced veteran player, commanding Milan. And finally, as we saw with the Byzantine Empire, Arm How To Do, bringing the Byzantine forces to the siege. Again, everyone in this siege, very experienced, very good player. And you saw right out of the gate, great strategy by Arm using his light cavalry to get the Timurid artillery while they were out of position. Again, his deployment zone had started over here, and he had to move all the way over here. And so while he was moving, those light cavalry were able to snag a charge right onto his rocket launcher. Now, up here in this top left-hand corner of the screen, you'll see this is a very long battle. I've already fast-forwarded through the entire deployment zone, and we are still about 1/5 of the way through this battle. So this is going to be feature length, ladies and gentlemen, so please make sure you have your drinks, snacks, and everything else that you need ready to watch this feature length siege. I guarantee you, you will not regret watching this video. So many good strategies, so many good tactics, so many good players. Let's speed it up a little bit here. Milanese Cavalry by Rogue Chivalry going out against the Venetians, but Venice was well protected, so his cavalry is coming back inside. And there is going to be a good bit of fast forwarding through this battle, because otherwise it would be a 3-hour game. And as much as I would love to bring you guys a 3-hour game, I doubt that my voice will be able to handle 3 straight hours of commentary. Much less that the YouTube upload would be kind to a 3-hour video or my rendering software. So we will do the absolute best we can to bring you all of the incredible action in this battle. Again, one of the best sieges I've ever played. And you can see there's a lot of cavalry play going on. Milanese crossbowmen coming out. Milanese cavalry coming out on the other side. Allen Light Cavalry coming back from routing. And they are coming for a second strike on the Timurids. His cannon getting into position now. But his cavalry is well positioned, as well as the allied Venetian cavalry over here, to protect that Timurid artillery. We cannot afford to lose an artillery piece. The rules of the battle only permitted 4 artillery for our team in total to take out this southern European fortress. And so losing that rocket launcher, well, he still has enough crew technically to man it, but if he loses 1 man, we lose a rocket launcher. Now, apparently we have some action going over on my side. I'd better run over there and cover it. We've got my general engaged with the stagnant unit of Milanese cavalry here, one of the general's bodyguard. He's going to try to go after my Pavis crossbowmen, but I have feudal knights inbound. They rout. And my general's bodyguard over here had a little square off with Lavernica's general's bodyguard. We each lost 1 horse. I guess I actually lost 2 there. Portuguese knights going to screen out. And you can see as I'm moving up, Pavis crossbowman about to scale the walls. I'm going to cut off his retreat because all of these units have to retreat through this pathway. And so when my crossbowmen get up on the walls, they're going to be able to shoot them in the back while they're retreating. And now Lavernica's cavalry going to try to go for a charge of my Portuguese knights, but he gets screened out and cut off by my dismounted feudal knights, and they're going to hack down a good number of those generals' bodyguard, generating a ton of value for me. And now they're going to take on this pike militia. Rogue Chivalry does have 1 unit of crossbowmen up on the wall firing down. Feudal Knights starting to cut through these pike militia very well. And at this point, I'm yelling at Spetsnaz, at Russian King over here. Dude, you got to get into the castle. You got to cut him off from over here. You got to get in here. And he's doing what he should be doing. I was probably a little too rushed. Russian King doing what he needs to do. And just moving his towers up slow and steady. Not making any mistakes. Not getting shot. But it would have been nice if he could have gotten in here and cut off the retreat. Because then we could have cut all of these troops off for being able to retreat to the second layer. Another little skirmish with the Allen Light Cavalry happened, but they broke yet again. Oh, we have some action going on out here. Another unit of Milanese Cavalry. Actually, I think this was the one that I had already attacked. They're engaged with Russian King's general, and they rout again. My general's bodyguard had come around to help, but now I'm in a perfect position. My general's bodyguard can come around and hit these guys from the back. Pavis crossbowmen up here on the walls, firing down on the retreating Milanese troops, generating huge value for us. One thing I want to stress here, this is not a 2v3 siege. This is not a 3v4 siege. This is a 3 versus 3 siege. The defenders have just as many men as we do. So we do not have any kind of a numerical advantage, which means this assault is going to be very difficult for us, especially going with the fact that all 3 of these players are experienced veteran Medieval 2 Total War players. And so if we are going to take this battle, it is going to be by the skin of our teeth and by the sweat of our brow. And it really does come down to the wire. I mean, after this battle finished, it probably took me, it was like midnight my time when this battle was over, but it probably took me another hour and a half, 2 hours for my hands to stop shaking. You'll see the ending is so incredible, so epic. I think you will love it and it'll be worth the wait. I do have it going on double speed right now just to try to get through some of the time here. My feudal knights having cut through the majority of that pike militia, and now they're engaged with some other feudal knights, but my general's bodyguard going to get some hammer and anvil strikes on the back while my crossbowmen continue to lay down overwatching fire, cutting down these Pavis crossbowmen by Lavernicus. And Russian King getting ready to do the same thing to pop these Pavis crossbowmen onto the wall and fire down. You can see this huge blob of defending formations here. So many missile units. They are going to hold this exterior layer with everything they have. A mortar already set up by Lavernicus not firing. Multiple Genoese crossbow or Genoese crossbow militia. And a ton of Byzantine Guard archers. There's even a unit of Musketeers out here ready to fire down at us. So there's a strong second layer defense here. And look, even with all the speeding up, we are not a third of the way through this battle yet. That is what I call an epic siege.
Beware. The opportunity for us to regain control of the castle has almost vanished.
Apparently, we as the attackers need to take control of the castle here again. Let's see what's going on my side here. I've got my crossbowmen up firing. Got lovely Steam notifications going on, as always. Basilisk's beginning to move up, and the siege tower line going to move up over here. I'm going to start taking out this corner wall so I can get some good shots on these defenders here. Over on the Venetian side, same thing going on. Pavis crossbowmen engaged with all of these units, but they have the huge advantage of trading because most of the shots from the defenders are either going to hit the bottom of this wall, as you'll see once a volley comes in here. There you can see most of the shots just hitting the bottom of that wall, or they're going straight over the top of their heads. Only a very small percentage of the fired missiles will actually hit the Pavis crossbowmen. Stradiote is going in there to try to get some routes going, but Pike Militia screen him out very effectively. Rogue Chivalry doing a great job there protecting his crossbowmen. And now a great charge by Arm How to Do with his light cavalry chasing down the Stradiots. He is a master of these Allen light cavalry, and he shows it brilliantly in this battle. Beautiful screening with those Allen light cavalry. Byzantine Guard archers holding that hilltop position, realizing it's not a good idea to just waste ammo on these Pavis crossbowmen. He does have two units down here who are exchanging missile fire alongside the Genoese crossbowmen. Now the Timurids have just started to come in through the wall. He did take out a couple of towers, but only made one breach, so he's got quite a lot of ammo left, and he's sitting back here where he's nice and safe behind the walls, which is exactly what we want. And my crossbowmen continuing to put down suppressive fire onto these defenders. Anytime anybody wanders in to my range, which extends right about to where these Genoese crossbowmen are, I am unloading on them with those crossbowmen.
Excellent. We have breached our
And there goes that second layer wall. Let's go over here and watch. My Basilisk, having taken that wall down, very soon I'm going to bring them up and put them in this gap. There we go. The movement order's been issued. They're going to bug out a little bit, but I'm going to stick them right here, and I'm going to try to get some shots into that secondary wall. Another charge by the Stradiots, but this time they get surrounded and killed. So Russian King just trying everything he can to try to get some fire, to try to rout some of that huge archer blob. Now the Timurid dismounted heavy archers have joined in with the archer fight, and we are starting to stack up quite a few bodies on the center here, especially if you include that entire Pavis crossbow unit that went down from Lavernicus. Basilisk again continuing to move into position there. Lavernicus having some this is the rest of that Pavis crossbowman unit. He's got positioned here at the gap, ready to fire down onto anything that I bring in. Just give you guys some nice cinematics here. And now the Timurids have moved up their cannon, but they're a little too close. They're going to start taking a lot of missile fire to that cannon unit from all of these units over here. Meanwhile, I'm still working on getting the right angle with my Basilisk. You'll see it pays off pretty well once I get that right angle. I want to make sure I catch this for you guys. I don't want to miss it. General's bodyguard hanging out over there. And my depleted general's bodyguard hanging out over here to make sure no sallies or anything come out of that gap. And now my men are about to fire their first volley. Let's see how my Basilisk can do. First shot is off. It looks good. It just misses to the back here. Let's go back and watch the reload. Second shot fires, and that one goes just a little bit too far. Alright, guys. I want to make sure we get this shot in all of its glory. Load the cannon. Aim. And fire. Boom. Now watch this cannonball. The holy cannonball of Antioch. Boom. All the way through the Byzantine line. Look at that. It tears a line all the way through here. Look at all of the dead men that one shot just created. Look at that. Can we even... It goes all the way back to here. Look at how far that one... It starts. Where does it start? All the way... Oh, we'll see once the line moves here. Nothing else super important going on out here. We can focus on the incredible cannon shot that just ripped through that huge line of Byzantine defense. Here it starts, and we'll follow it all the way down. Probably 100 men in that line just took out by one cannon shot. And that's the power. Once you know, there's a couple little tricks that you can figure out with cannons about getting the proper alignment to be able to use your cannons against enemy infantry. And you'll remember right where my cannon was, he had a perfect line through this wall, and you can just see the carnage that was inflicted. So I'll probably make a video relatively soon on how to use artillery against infantry and the proper utilization of geography and lining up the cannon shots and everything, because there is a technique to being able to get effective shots like this. Now, this is a 1 in a million shot because he had to have his forces so clustered up here. But when it happens, man, did it feel good when that shot went off. And I was watching it too during the battle. But they've done the smart thing now and have ran everyone back here, which is what they should have done, and waited for us to move up before they manned the second wall, because they already have an effective defense out here. Let's do a little bit of speeding up action. We've just barely crossed a third of the battle here. And that crossbow skirmish continuing to go on between Milan, the Byzantines, and Timurids, and the Venetians. But now I've moved up my muskets, and my muskets are getting some volleys. And they're able to do some work on these Byzantine guard archers. I mentioned it in a previous video, but just to bring it up again, here, big mistake by me letting my muskets get shot by those Genoese crossbowmen. But Musketeers actually have slightly more range than crossbowmen, than Pavis crossbowmen, or any missile unit with the long-range missile tooltip. That means 160 range in the game files when a unit has quote-unquote long-range missiles. Muskets have 180 range, so I can actually sit here out of their range and fire with my muskets. And because of how few muskets fire with each volley, your muskets basically, it feels like your muskets have unlimited ammo. I don't know if I've ever played a game where my musketeers have actually ran out of ammo. It definitely feels like they have nearly unlimited ammo, even though they have the exact same number of shots as Pavis crossbowmen or longbowmen, but because it takes them so long to shoot each volley, they basically never run out of ammo. Another misconception on missile units that I'll point out while we have a little lull in the fighting here. A lot of people think that Pavis crossbowmen have more missiles than longbowmen or other archers. That is not the case. They have the exact same number of missiles. The difference is the animation for the Pavis crossbowman to fire is much longer than the archer animation to fire. And so for every 10 shots that an archer gets off, a Pavis crossbowman will only get about 5 or 6 shots off. And so it takes them twice as long to shoot all their ammo, which is why it feels like they have more ammo than longbowmen. But don't fall into the trap of thinking that longbows have less ammo. The thing about longbows is if you conserve their ammo and you don't skirmish much with them, you can unleash a devastating amount of fire into a localized area very quickly. You just have to concentrate your fire, and you have to be a little bit more careful with keeping them off of fire at will, because they'll fire a lot more quickly. And here we go. I'm starting to bring up some General's Bodyguard. Gonna try to get a charge on these Genoese crossbowmen. But I see those pike militia moving up. Oh, I'm still gonna do it though. I'm able to get past the pike militia. But my General's Bodyguard gets shot en route. So probably not the best play by myself there. And Lavernicus's cavalry screens me out. So probably not the best play on my part. I didn't get a good charge bonus. And I was well screened out. So I probably shouldn't have done that. That was kind of a waste of a General's Bodyguard. Always make sure to point out my own mistakes first, because watching these replays, it really helps you get to be a better player. Some ricochets coming down, hitting Pavis crossbowmen. While we're giving pro tips here, that's one thing to be very careful of. If at all possible, you want to avoid putting your crossbowmen or your missiles or any infantry off to the side of these walls, because when cannonballs hit these walls, they ricochet off and they can still do damage, like you're seeing here against these crossbowmen. So you want to make sure, if at all possible, you don't leave your crossbowmen at angles like this. There's another shot that hits them. That you don't put your men at angles like that where they can get hit by those ricocheting cannonballs. One dismounted feudal knight here by Millen, apparently trying to hold this whole section here. We're going to see how it works out for him shortly. I do have... Oh, nope, there's that General's Body. The last of those General's Bodyguard is running away from the field. He fought bravely down to the last man, but the last man is running away here from the Portuguese cavalry. I do still have my actual General's Bodyguard, though. And my actual general should still be alive in here somewhere. Let's try. There he is. Right there. Right, staring me in the face. Muskets continuing to unload salvos. Venice having moved his culverin up, getting some good angles on the wall here. And look at the pile of bodies that is built up from this very prolonged, very extended missile engagement here. There's just a pile of dead crossbowmen, dead Byzantine archers, and a huge pile of dead Timurids. Very good positioning for the defenders, keeping their men out here, allowing them to pin these Timurids down. And almost all of these Pavis crossbowmen, they've taken so much fire for such a long time, they've gotten worn down. And this is something we missed while watching the cannon fire. There was a huge engagement over here where the Timurids were trying to move their men through, but they got caught, and they got butchered by the combined arms and mortar fire that was opening up. And so, unfortunately, a lot of casualties for the Timurids, and that puts our team at a 4% disadvantage here in this battle. Just moved up to 3%. But now we are losing percentages wise. We've lost 29%. The attackers, the defenders, have only lost 26%. So we've lost 3% more of our army than they have. And remember, the numbers are exactly the same. So every man counts in this battle. That sounds so good listening to those muskets fire. It might be me, or maybe it's just my opinion, but I feel like the musket firing sound from Medieval 2 sounds more like an actual musket firing than the ones from Empire Total War. Maybe that's just me, but and I haven't played a ton of Empire Total War, but I have played a little bit, and I did not like the way muskets sounded. I know there's mods that fix that, but right now I'm playing vanilla Medieval 2, and I don't have a problem. I don't think you should have to have mods to make Total War games enjoyable. I mean, let's take another game, for example, Skyrim. I mean, mods make Skyrim really fun, but Skyrim's also really fun without you can play Skyrim without mods and have a fun time. So you shouldn't have to have mods to enjoy a game. And unfortunately, that's kind of what happened to especially like Rome 2. And now, if you want to actually enjoy a campaign in Rome 2, you basically have to play it with mods. Otherwise, the campaign is just so dull and boring. There's no reason to not auto-resolve all of your battles. So it's good eye candy, but that's about all it's good for. I understand there's a competitive multiplayer scene, and I tried to get into that a little bit when it first, when Empire Edition or the Emperor Edition came out, but it's just nothing like Medieval 2 Total War, nothing like even the original Rome Total War. It is definitely outclassed by its predecessor, in my opinion. I think some sloppy development went into it. Definitely a lot of arguably false advertising from when Rome 2 came out. Do you remember the big release that they made with the Siege of Carthage? And they made it look like Carthage was that huge city, and there was these beautiful graphics and the units talking and all that amazing stuff that came out in that Siege of Carthage video. And then when you actually played the Siege of Carthage, it was absolutely nothing like that. So I unfortunately am one of those very old school Total War players who felt incredibly betrayed when Rome 2 came out. And honestly, I really haven't recovered from it. I've talked about how... I mean, look at this right here. This game, Medieval 2 Total War, was released in 2006. And you can see that Sega Creative Assembly have animations for these cannons firing. Now go ahead and hop over to Total War Warhammer 2 and get some cannons and see if there's animations of the men loading the cannons and firing the cannons. You'll find there's not. So my question is, why are there animations in a 2006 game that costs $10 or $20 on Steam, and yet for a game that the base game where you only get 4 races costs $60, and then every other race they cut out of the game and sell back to you as a DLC, and yet they're too lazy to even put in cannon loading animations? I don't understand that whatsoever. That seems like some very unprofessional marketing tactics to me, very lazy development, and that's just my opinion. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but I don't think that Creative Assembly has made a game that can compare to Medieval 2 Total War or the original Rome Total War since those games have been released, unfortunately. Shogun 2 is good from everything I've heard, but I don't think that any of the other historical titles, Rome 2, Attila, the Thrones of Britannia one, that one. Did you know there's more? If you go onto Steam and you look at how many people are playing Medieval 2 Total War versus how many people are playing Thrones of Britannia or Total War Attila, there's more people playing Medieval 2 Total War at any given time than there are playing those games. So I don't know what whoever's the director of development or the developer of marketing there over at Creative Assembly probably shouldn't be doing that, because they are not putting out the same quality content that they used to be. And I'm going to reserve any thoughts on Three Kingdoms until it comes out. I may or may not get it. I have no idea. I'm going to look at it carefully after it comes out. I'm going to look at the reviews. I'm not going to pre-order it. I'm going to look at the reviews. I'm going to see what players say after having purchased it. I'm going to see if all of the stuff they've been talking about the campaign is true. And then I will make an informed purchase decision. But I would highly recommend to everybody not to pre-order any Total War games for the time being, because of all of the shady marketing tactics that they've been using recently with games like Warhammer and Rome 2. I mean, we all remember the Chaos DLC YouTube video that came out, and I don't even own the Warhammer games. If that made me angry, so. I mean, Warhammer is just such an obvious ripoff of Lord of the Rings. I just can't bring myself to play it or even really enjoy it. I know some people do, and I know there's a really good online community. It's kind of funny and comedic, but I just can't get into something that's such an obvious ripoff of something. I mean, the wood elves live in the forest of Lorien. Like, Lorien from Lord of the Rings, or like Lothlorien. Oh, it's just so funny. But I mean, Creative Assembly couldn't get the rights to medieval to Lord of the Rings, so I guess that was the next best thing they could do. And they got to get the Chinese people to buy the Total War game, so they got to make a Three Kingdoms game, which is fine. I just don't like the fact that they're pandering to the Chinese Communist government, and you got to praise the game has to praise China so highly and be so historically inaccurate about China in order for the government not to ban it. I mean, talk about the thought police there, and yet the Chinese people apparently have no desire to have liberty or freedom within their nation, and are perfectly fine with that. Apparently, with crippling government censorship, they are apparently totally okay with. Very unfortunate, but I guess that's the way it goes. And some beautiful play by Arm Howda there, jumping back. I've been on a rant for like the last 10 minutes, haven't I? That was a pretty good rant there. Great cavalry play by Arm Howda there, trying to screen out, get a good charge on these Timurids. And a lot of Timurid cav coming through, and he's going to try to get a horse sandwich. Cavalry coming around this way and from that way, and he's going to try to cut off these Milanese troops. So great play there by the Timurids. And you can see at this point, Russian King and myself starting to bring some siege towers up, getting ready to perform that second wall assault, which is really going to be the crux of this battle, the critical portion of the assault, whether or not we can pull off the successful assault of this second wall. Now, one thing I'm doing here is I'm slowly but surely sending these conquistadors all the way around until they get to about here. That way they're completely out of range of any crossbowmen from within the second wall here. And then they can also protect, because I'm going to start bringing up Pavis crossbowmen and cavalry and infantry, and I'm going to start skirmishing the crud out of this second wall. And so those conquistadors are going to help screen out any attacks that come through this gap, repel any infantry charges, and be able to protect my men. Looks like we had a little bit of a cav charge of some nature there. Now, did those Allen Light Cavalry by the Byzantines... Oh, they're still alive. He still has 3 Allen Light Cavalry left. Let's see if Arm Howda is able to utilize any effectiveness from those last 3 Allen Light Cavalry. We have just passed the... We're a little bit past the halfway point here. And right now it's 8:52 in the morning, and I know I started about 8:10. So this will probably be well over an hour long as a video, even with keeping it on double speed for most of the battle. But that's awesome. I mean, even already we've seen a lot of great play, a lot of skirmishing. My muskets being really effective, pinning down a lot of these defenders, getting a bunch of kills over here. I mean, just look at that. Good pile of kills there from the muskets. But the defenders putting up a great fight against the Timurid advances, and they've cut us down in droves too. So they are giving the punches right back to us. And that is why this siege was such a nail-biter and will be such a nail-biter in the end, because every time we get a good hit on them, they get a good hit right back on us. Conquistadors now having made it to the second wall, they're going to protect themselves by marching on the borders of this second wall and holding out right here while my crossbowmen are getting ready to move up. Now, what happened to those Allen Light Cavalry? Where did they go? I guess they are light cavalry, so they're supposed to be kind of quick and hard to find, right? And there we get the Timurids to take out the gate. And we managed to take out most of this wall, but at this point we're totally out of ammo. And they still have another tower sitting up here. So because of the fact that we lost that artillery at the front, and that he brought a rocket launcher and not another cannon, we were unable to completely destroy all the defenses on the second wall, which is really harsh for us. Here's those Allen Light Cavalry chasing down those Timurids. And now Armhauda is going to send these Allen Light Cavalry on a special ops mission. Let's see what goes on with them, and let's just follow these guys on their special operations Black Ops deployment here by the Allen Light Cavalry. So far, no resistance, no counterplay from the Timurids, and they're getting around his back line. And remember how I said that we only had 3 men left on that rocket launcher, and we'd only have to lose 1 man to start losing the models of the rocket launcher? And look at this. The Allen Light Cavalry have successfully navigated a flank attack, spears down, and they charge the rocket launcher. And the rocket launcher crew is destroyed. And the Allen Light Cavalry completely take out that rocket launcher. And there goes all of our artillery. We are now officially out of artillery as a team. So beautiful play there by Armhauda, proving that he is well worth the spot of being in the Armada clan. From everything I know about them, they're a great clan. I've never really been into the whole clan thing, but from what I hear, they're one of the more skilled clans. Now, here I kind of set a little trap for Millen. I leave my Conquistadors out just enough, and he takes the bait with these Genoese crossbowmen, and he wants to get a volley off of my Conquistadors. I'm going to let him get a volley. And he'll kill a few of them, but you're going to see what happens here. So he gets a nice volley onto my Conquistadors, and he's going to take out a couple of models here. He's going to take out 3 models. I can count. And he's going to get a second volley here. But now he's not going to be able to fire as effectively. Only a few units being able to get the right angle. Gets a couple more models there. And he's going to get ready for a third shot. And now you'll see why I gave him that bait here in about a second or two. He is able to get a third volley off, but he's shooting pretty much into the wall, and there comes the cavalry charge. And I just decimate this Genoese crossbow militia. So I gave him a little bit of bait there. I was a little bit slow with my cavalry, but I did set a little bit of bait out there, and those Milanese crossbowmen came out just far enough. My general was able to kill over half of that unit with 1 charge. And now I'm going to send these Conquistadors in on the second charge, and they're going to decide they want none of that and run back inside the second wall. So lots of moving around, lots of motion going on. Cavalry coming in, but they're going to decide they need to get out of there. I do lose 1 model, but losing 1 horseman for a handful of sword and bucklermen and half a unit of Genoese crossbowmen, I'm willing to take that engagement. And the mortar batteries are starting to fire off here from Lavernicus. Here's 1 mortar battery, but there was 1 other that was firing. I thought over... Yeah, here's the other mortar battery. And they were shelling down on my Pavis crossbowman coming up here. So this is phase 2 of the attack now officially. The fight for the second wall now beginning. And I'm moving my Pavis crossbowman up to this gap, firing through the gap. Lavernicus doing a great job exchanging missile fire with me. Rogue Chivalry is going to send out a unit of Feudal Knights, but he's going to fall back inside once he sees my flanking force coming there. And Russian King starting to move up a couple of siege towers as shields. He's going to use the classic siege tower shield strategy to shield his men as he comes up to the second wall. And so you can see both the attackers and the defenders, everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. Defenders are trading missile fire with my Pavis crossbowmen. Attackers moving up with siege towers. Attackers firing through the gaps. Everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing in this siege. Nobody's playing sloppy. Nobody's playing half-heartedly. Everyone wants to win this battle. This is for all the marbles. This is everybody's a very good player here. Nobody wants to lose. Everybody wants the bragging rights, and everybody is playing very well. Pavis crossbowman getting some great shots through the gap there, but Lavernicus giving it right back to me with his Pavis crossbowman. Oop, don't need to go to 6 times speed there. We are progressing through the battle. We are up to 40,000 out of 63,000, so almost 2/3 of the way through. My crossbow is doing an excellent job trading effectively with those crossbowmen from Lavernicus. We started off at about the same number. General's Bodyguard coming out here against against my Pavis crossbowman. But Conquistador is going to come in to screen him out. He's going to decide again. He doesn't want any of that, and he's going to run back inside. But what that gives me is an opening to run my Conquistadors across, and now I can have a unit over here to protect that gap. So now I'm protected on both sides, and I was able to keep these guys from getting shot. Russian King continuing to move up the siege towers with his Pavis crossbowmen that are out of ammo. A great idea. He doesn't want to lose any of his important units here. So, everything continuing as it has been. Skirmishing continuing to go. And now I've got a second unit of Pavis crossbowmen getting a beautiful angle shot right into these defenders here. And you can see they're already taking a toll. These feudal knights down to 19 men, having lost a bunch of men over there at that corner. Taking out these Byzantine infantry, taking out the sword and bucklermen. And I'm able to rout that Genoese crossbowman unit. So my crossbowmen doing a great job of firing through this gap and generating a lot of value. And now the Russian, I was going to say the Russian forces, but it's Russian King commanding the Venetian army. The Venetian army is moving up to the second wall. And he is going to get some backup from some Portuguese reinforcements here. I'm going to send some crossbowmen up to start firing through these gaps. And I've almost taken out all of Lavernicus's crossbowmen here. They're down to 6, my guys at 16. And I had to run these Pavis crossbowmen back because they were taking a lot of damage from these Byzantine guard archers. If you can get them close, archers can really do a number on Pavis crossbowmen. Despite the perception that Pavis crossbowmen will always beat archers, if you can get into close range, archers can generally, especially a good unit like the Byzantine guard archers or Trebizond archers, can really do a number on Pavis crossbowmen because they fire so much faster. And so I got my crossbowmen firing beautiful angle through that gate here. I've got these units pinning them down here, and I'm going to bring this unit in once we start making actual progress into the second wall. And here go the Venetian troops. I would say a little bit premature in my opinion, but he was getting shot pretty hard, so I understand why he moved forward, but I am going to capitalize on this mistake from the defenders. Do you notice there are no defending troops over here on this wall? They've completely abandoned this back wall. And now that they've done that here shortly, I'm going to capitalize on it, and I'm going to start shooting this blob in the back with those Pavis crossbowmen, and it is going to be glorious. But on the other sides, everybody doing exactly what they need to be doing. Again, Byzantine army holding off these feudal knights, boxing them in, but good play by Russian keeping the pike militia back there to help support. We were able to catch a couple of Genoese crossbowmen there. And now this Pavis crossbowman, like I said, I'm going to move them up, and they're going to start shooting this unit in the back. Venetian infantry starting to rout from the incoming mortar fire. Oh, look at that beautiful mortar shot right there. Lavernicus is known online for the dread that his mortars cause. He is the mortar player. And so everyone fears the dreaded mortars from Lavernicus. But check out this angle here. Beautiful shots right into the back. Oh, and there's some friendly fire by the mortars. But right into the back of these sword and bucklermen. Right into those broken lances. And the Venetian troops starting to make some progress here. Milanese broken lances routing probably to that friendly mortar fire. That's the issue with these Italian state troops. They just don't have the morale like other factions units do. These broken lances just don't have the high morale like feudal knights. And so they are susceptible to routing like that. More fire coming in from the Genoese, from the normal Pavis crossbowmen here. I wish Portugal had Genoese crossbowmen, but they don't. But you can see really good shots coming in there. And my Pavis crossbowmen continuing to fight to try to get some good angles here on the defenders. But they're doing a good job of plugging the gaps. And a nice flank here from the Byzantine Infantry and Byzantine... Oh no, it is just Byzantine Infantry. I thought I saw a couple of Byzantine Guard Archers there. But it does appear to just be Byzantine Infantry cutting up these Pavis crossbowmen. And now I'm going to send my dismounted Portuguese knights over here to help with that fight. To help secure the Venetian flank. And at this point, my conquistadors are going to come in. I realize I need to get into this second wall, or they're going to completely destroy my allies. It'll be really funny for all the people watching this video to watch themselves put Steam notifications on. I could turn Steam notifications off, but honestly, it's kind of entertaining to have them pop up like that in the battle, don't you? And then you guys, it'll be really funny when I'm having a deep conversation with one of these people, and they start putting all this private stuff on the Steam notification. That'd be really funny. In that case, I'd have to cut the video or something, but that would be pretty funny if it happened. And then some friendly fire there on that Carraccio standard, being taken out by their own mortars and causing some routes to the Byzantine infantry. So we had a little bit of luck there with some friendly fire from the mortars. And my conquistadors are desperately trying to push through the last of these feudal knights so I can go up and clean off that wall. This unit conquistadors was coming around to clean up these Trebizond, but Venice is going to get there first. So these guys are going to come through the gap. But this is a great play by Lavernicus. These crossbowmen are exactly where they need to be. And you can see they're going to be getting some great angles onto our men. Oop, I don't want to miss the shot. Look at that, just firing straight down into us. And they are getting some great kills there. So Lavernicus playing very, very well, as always, with his Pavis crossbowmen. His mortars are getting some good routes on us. But now I'm able to move my Pavis crossbowmen in, and they're going to start firing downrange at the Sicilian troops.
Badly blooded. They have lost half their men.
So we've managed to take one of the players, probably the Byzantines, down to half strength, or it could be Milan as well. Probably not Lavernicus. Lavernicus still has a bunch of guys back here. So let's look at the percentages real quick. We're at 58%. Enemies killed at 56, so we are still losing by 2%. You can see it's starting really to turn into this nail-biting, desperate situation where we've got to make up some percentages, but the defenders just trading so evenly with us from these great Pavis crossbowman shots. These guys not getting great shots here, but this unit is getting some good angles down here. Let's just watch this melee here for a little bit. You can just see the Pavis crossbow bolts coming in. And the Timurid handgunners trying to get some work done, trying to rout some enemies. And at this point, I really need to be sending some infantry in. And here they come first thing that's going to go in are some Aventuros with an armor upgrade. It makes them look like conquistadors. And I do have one unit of conquistadors in here fighting in the melee, and another unit of conquistadors going back here to help with this, because we have to break through this corner defense. If we can't break this corner defense, these crossbowmen are going to... Look at that volley that just came through. You can see the arrows flashing through your screen. If we can't break this corner defense, they are going to rip us to shreds. We are managing to push the Byzantines back, but we are getting shot so hard it's not even funny. And so even though we're managing to win in the long, grindy melee fight, if we keep taking that consistent, suppressive crossbow fire, we are not going to have a chance in this battle. So I brought my conquistadors over here, trying to break through, but there's still 1, 2, 3, 4 units we have to break through before we can break this corner. There's a 5th unit of broken lances right here, and there's a bunch of reserve troops back here. So they could hold this corner for a long time. It pains me to see those beautiful crossbow shots, because I know they are just ripping through our men, and there's absolutely nothing we can do about it. You can't get ladders up on this wall because your men can't run through this area. You can't destroy this wall. You can see the wall's only damaged 1% there. You can't destroy this wall. You can't get ladders up. You have to be able to get to this door here, and as long as they hold you from getting to that door, this whole section is able to fire down and get great crossfire. Another beautiful volley coming from this Pavis crossbowman, just ripping. Look at that, they're ripping our men apart. Mortar fire is coming in, and it's only the well-trained, perfect discipline of the Aventuros keeping them in the fight. I'm doing a good job of keeping their pikes down for the most part, getting the good pike strategy so they generate some value. And now I've got my crossbowmen up here trying to fire down, but they're obstructed by the buildings. It's still the best angle I can get. Again, we're trying to do everything we can, but there's only so much that is humanly possible that we can do. And the mortar fire is relentless. And the Venetians starting to break in mass. And it is coming. The Timurids lost most of their army here in between the two walls. The Venetian army is almost gone. And so the only healthy army that's left for us really is my army, which in a 3v3 siege, and all the pressure comes onto you, it is intense. Just every time I look, there's mortars hitting the ground. And oh, jeez. All the Pavis crossbow fire. These guys must have gotten 100 kills by now. No doubt about that. And we are trying desperately to break through this defense. We're trying everything we can do, but there's no way to get around this. We just have to grind through, and the whole time, his Pavis crossbowmen are unrelenting. Now I'm bringing in another unit of feudal knights. I've got to hold this choke point, or he's just going to rush through and get to all of our back line here. Got more conquistadors coming in. Slowly and steadily, I'm feeding men in. I don't want men to stay in clumped up. I want to bring him in a couple at a time so he can't just focus fire me. But some men starting to rout for Portugal. 35 and 19 healthy units starting to rout, undoubtedly from mortar fire there. And it looks as though this corner is going to hold. And it looks as though the tide is turning against us as attackers. There's one Nafutanier left, and he's trying everything he can to throw his Nafutan pots. Look at all the fire coming down. It's insane. So my guys, oh, my guys have still not come back. Here they go. So my guys come back, and I'm going to rush them immediately back into this fight. We have to take this corner out, or the battle is already over. We might as well say GG if we can't capture that corner. Because I can't fight the Byzantine troops effectively, or I'm just going to keep getting shot in the back. So even though we're winning the melee fight against the Byzantines, the Pavis crossbow fire is is just massacring us, and there's nothing we. That was the most frustrating thing in the world. Getting shot by Pavis crossbowmen, and you know there's absolutely nothing in the whole world you can do about it. But a good charge there from Spetsnaz, and he breaks a bunch of these Norman knights. And my Portuguese troops started to come back in, and now the Portuguese general, seeing that the situation is dire, is going to commit himself to the fight, and the conquistadors cut down the Byzantine general.
The enemy general. Now his men will lose heart.
And now all the marbles are on their table. We have to break through this defense. Now. It's now or never. It's do or die. All the marbles on the table. All right, we are back, and we have managed to cut off the escape of these musketeers here. What happened is the replay file had actually corrupted there, and the game turned out totally different. So I had to literally go back to the start, put it on 6 times speed, and wait like 20 minutes for it to get back to this point. Basically what had happened is, instead of what happens right here, which is how the game actually works, where we managed to push through the corner and cut off most of these muskets, some do get away here. But my general and the Venetian general actually died on this corner, which anyone who was in this battle will tell you. Did not happen. My general does die, spoiler alert, but it happens later. So there we kill the Byzantine general. And I'm going to send up just a couple of these ragtag units to try to cut off the last of these Pavis crossbowmen. So anyway, we missed maybe a few seconds of the battle there, but we are back, and just look at how devastating the siege has been. Look at the piles of bodies through this second layer wall. How desperate the fight out here has been. And there goes the Venetian general. That part actually does happen. That's where he dies in the actual battle. He's trying to hold off the troops from here from coming and reinforcing. So a valiant death by the Venetian general, giving his life for the cause here of the troops. But now my conquistadors are actually free to be able to attack the troops here in the second wall without taking massive crossbow fire. And here's the Portuguese general, bloodied up, but he is alive. So I very nearly had a heart attack when I saw that the replay got corrupted, because this is such an amazing battle. This is the kind of battle, this is the reason why people still play Medieval 2 Total War 13 years down the road, is because of battles like this. I mean, let's look at the percentages real quick. 82 to 84. We're just barely starting to turn the tide of battle a little bit, but it's within 2%. And you got to remember, the attackers don't have to kill, the defenders don't have to kill all of our troops. They just have to rout them. And you can see our troops are starting to rout and break here. And we've lost a lot of troops to routing already, so they don't have to kill all of us. They just have to get us to rout. And with the Venetian general already dead, that's going to be a lot easier. So now they're coming here. They're hitting my feudal knights. Some dismounted broken lances. And that's exactly what I wanted, because now I'm going to bring my general back around. He was over here fighting, but he's going to come around, and he's going to get a beautiful rear charge onto these Sicilian troops back here, which is exactly what I wanted to happen. So let's check that out here. My army takes half of its casualties. Come on, general. You know where you're needed. Prepare charge. Should be charging in any moment here. He's taking a sweet time getting over there, apparently. Here we go. Now the Venetian general charging in. But look at the last second. That was supposed to be an epic charge, but at the last second, the Venetian cavalry comes in and totally blocks my charge. And I remember that happening. I was so frustrated, because that was so... I mean, that charge would have just destroyed that entire Norman knight unit, but at the last second, those cavalry crew run right in front of my general's bodyguard and stop that beautiful charge. So a very fortuitous event for the Sicilian defenders. And at this point, my allies are pretty much dead. I mean, there's a couple units of exhausted, tattered Pavis crossbowmen, a culverin crew for Venice, and there's a handful of bodyguard unit left for the Timurids. There's 3 handgunner models left. And that is it. Everything else rests on me, but there's still a bunch of defenders back here at the end. So you can just see there's almost nothing left for us. A handful of units for my entire army, but there are still some strong defending units here. Pavis crossbowmen on the hill, musketeers ready to rout, mortar batteries ready to fire. The defenders have a proper last stand. And look, there's an entire unit with the general of Norman Knights, completely healthy, haven't taken a casualty, a full mortar crew left, and almost full broken lances left, a bunch of tattered units, and we have to kill every one of these men. And this is all we have left. Look, this is all we have left to do that. I've got a few tattered Pavis crossbowmen. I've got 1 unit of healthy conquistadors and 1 unit of healthy aventuros. That's it. And my general. And we have to kill all of this from the defenders. And at this point in the battle, I'm looking around, I'm saying, man, the pressure is really on me. I'm the only one that has any type of numerical troops left. So all the pressure, whether or not this battle is going to be a win or a loss, is starting to fall more and more on my shoulders as my allies' armies get more and more tattered. And so at this point, we're just trying to regroup. We're trying to get everything back together. I got these Pavis crossbowmen. A couple managed to come back from routing, but most of them are out of ammo. This unit completely out of ammo. I have 1 unit with a few shots left. And so most of my crossbowmen are out of ammo. They're exhausted. They're not going to be worth hardly anything in melee. If anything, they're just going to rout and cause my other units to rout. So somehow I've got to break through this incredible defensive line here by these defenders. And remember, these are tattered units, but I have to kill every model here. I can't count on them routing. They're right there in the center. But my units are going to be pretty easy to break because they're exhausted. I got 2 fresh units here, and that's basically everything I have. I've got those 2 units, my general, and some Pavis crossbowmen. And this is all that the Venetians have left. And this is all that the Timurids have left. And so it really is coming down to the wire here. And a Timurid cavalry charge, but look, disaster strikes the Timurid army yet again. And their general dies on the charge to that Caracho standard. And so now another nail has been put into the coffin of our assault. And the Timurid general falls. This battle just got even harder because now we've lost 2 generals, the Venetian general and the Timurid general. And so I've moved up my Pavis crossbow, and they're going to begin firing through the gap here. Trying to get some kills. And there's the Timurid handgunners trying to fight those broken lances, but they get routed. My crossbowmen doing a good job of firing through that gap. They managed to kill a couple of guys back here on the hill, and they're going to set up for another volley here. But look at this. Here comes the Portuguese general. A heroic charge by the Portuguese general to silence these Genoese crossbowmen. The charge bonus is activated, but my general falls. That Genoese crossbowman kills my general. And I did not expect that to happen. I managed to kill a good number of musketeers and broken lances on the charge, but I lose my general to these Pavis crossbowmen. And another nail is put into the coffin of our assault. So now all of our armies are leaderless. The Timurid general is dead. The Venetian general is dead. The Portuguese general is dead. And there's a strong line of defenders here holding the square. How in the world are we going to win this? And check out this one brave guy. Oh, never mind. He wasn't that brave. He routed. But he did kill a couple of them before he died. But that just goes to show you. And look, these Pavis crossbowmen break too, so the morale is starting to fall apart for our defense. And it looks like all hope is nearly lost. And at this point, I'm getting my muskets trying to fire through the gaps. I'm trying to do everything I can. Just trying to get a few kills here and there. Everything I can possibly do. And now the Venetian crossbowmen, the last unit besides these culverins who are suicide charging here, the culverin crew, this is the last unit for Venice. And they were going to get some good shots there through the gap. Portuguese unit coming back. Discord notifications going off. But look at this. The Venetian crossbowmen are wavering.
Praise the Almighty. Our enemy has
We managed to rout the Byzantine army here.
push our advantage.
The Byzantine army was down to these last two guys, and I managed to rout them over there. But this, again, this is the last unit of Venice. And they break! The last unit. So now the Venetian army is off the field. The Russian king doing a great job with his army, but his army is now off the field. And so it is down to my Pavis crossbowmen, these two units, and the generalist Timur's bodyguard. That is all we have left to break through this defense. And they have a full healthy unit of Norman knights, not a casualty taken. Their general's still alive. Musketeers on the hill. Genoese crossbowmen on the hill. A bunch of tattered units over here holding a mortar with ammo left. How in the world are we supposed to break through this defense? And at this point, you can imagine how fast my heart is beating. Because all the pressure is on me. The Timurid general, the Timurids are generalists, I'm generalist, but the only person that has any troops left is myself. And my heart is beating 1,000,000 miles an hour because it is going to come down to what I do whether or not we're able to win this. My musket's able to get some shots through here, able to clean out a couple of those Norman knights, but the Byzantines, having returned to the battle from going back to the town center, are re-screening me out. This tattered unit of feudal knights trying to provide some protection. And my Pavis crossbowmen coming back again, but they're shaken. They're exhausted. They're not going to stand for long. At some point, we're just going to have to do it. We're just going to have to charge into the center for wrath and ruin, for death and glory, for the Red Dawn, and see what happens and how the fate of this battle will be decided. So there we finally actually take out the Byzantine army. So now it is Sicily and Milan versus me and the Timurids. The Venetians and the Byzantines are both off the field. And just looking again at the incredible carnage, every square inch of this castle covered in the bodies of friend and foe. I mean, look at the pile. And this is on small unit scale. Look at the piles and piles of dead. This has been a battle to the death, and it is coming down so brutally to the wire. I'm trying everything I can to get just a few shots with my muskets, but I move them into range. I move them into angle of his crossbowmen, and they're going to be able to get some good shots on my muskets. And I cannot afford casualties at this point. Every man that falls is one step closer to losing this battle. And so now I tell the Timurids, I say, Timurids, it's time to charge. We've just got to do this. We've just got to go in there and see, and what's going to happen is going to happen. So here's my strategy. I'm going to send these feudal knights in first. They're already a tattered unit. I'm going to send them in to eat this volley from the Milanese crossbowmen, which they eat it very well. A lot of them die. But they get a charge bonus, and they cut down the front line, but they rout almost immediately. That's fine, because they're going to come back. I wanted them to rout quickly if they didn't do a ton of damage. But they ate that shot from the Milanese crossbowmen. So now my main army can move up without taking missile fire, which was exactly what I wanted to happen. So the Conquistador is going to charge in into these broken lances. Beautiful cinematic shot of my muskets. Forming up here, getting a good shot onto that back line. And now I'm going to run my Pavis crossbowmen in around. I'm going to try to make the town center get captured. So that way they've got to start bringing these forces down to deal with my men in the town center. Aventuro's forming up with the pikes. Conquistador's pushing through these broken lances. I have to push through. I have to get to these missile units or it's GG. Pavis crossbowmen moving into the center. The Timurid bodyguard down to 6 men. And now he's chasing my Pavis crossbowman, which is totally okay with me. Another Pavis crossbowman coming through. Those feudal knights came back. Musketeers continuing to put down suppressive fire. Conquistadors continuing to cut through the broken lances. We've got to push through to those Genoese crossbowmen. We've got to get to that back line, or this battle is hopeless. And the Conquistadors and the Aventuro managed to cut down the Milanese general. And so now my Aventuros are going to get into combat with the last of these Norman knights. My dismounted feudal knights continuing to fight here against these Normans. And my Conquistadors finally get to push through into these Genoese crossbowmen. We've got to keep pushing. Even now, my Pavis crossbowmen are starting to break. My Aventuros are taking pretty heavy casualties there against the Norman knights. The Timurid bodyguard is down to 4 men. It is looking even more grim than what it was before. This Norman knight only taking 2 casualties, and they rout my feudal knights again. But my Conquistadors managed to push through those Genoese crossbowmen, and now they're going to get another charge into these Pavis crossbowmen. I've got to take out all these units, and then I've got to get the mortar, and then I've somehow got to figure out a way to kill this Norman knight. So now my Aventuros are doing what they're supposed. I've utilized the pike technique, and now my Aventuros are doing exactly what they need to do against these Norman knights, but they get hit at the flank. They get hit at the flank, and my Aventuros break. My Pavis crossbowmen are breaking. My Aventuros are breaking. And now he's coming with another charge. Another Pavis crossbowman routs. And now my Musketeers are about to rout. They're shaken. They're wavering. My Musketeers are probably... I managed to barely get my Musketeers out of there, but almost everything else is routing besides this Conquistador. This battle is so incredibly close. So incredibly tense. My hands sweating, my heart beating 1,000 miles an hour. It all comes down to me. All the pressure is on me at this point. Somehow I've got to turn this battle around, and my Conquistadors are glitching out. I'm telling them to go and kill this mortar, but the pathfinding gets all screwed up, which is exactly why Lavernicus has him back here. And look, my men run down the hill. I didn't tell him to do that. That's the pathfinding glitching out, which is exactly why Lav has this mortar back here, because it's so hard to get the pathfinding to work back to get him. Beautiful play by Lav there, showing how good of a player he is. My muskets forming up here, trying to get a volley off. And they are not going to get that volley off, but the Aventuros are going to come in from the side and hit these guys from the flank. Man, look, there's almost nothing left for either side. And there's still a full unit here, 46 of dismounted Norman knights. How on earth are we supposed to kill this thing? The Timurid bodyguard about to get caught there. Now my Aventuros facing the wrong direction in pike formation, getting hit from the back by these Norman knights. But now my Conquistadors have cleaned up the mortar crew, and they're coming down to the center here, and now it's going to come down to it. We're going to charge this Pavis crossbowman. He's going to get taken out here, more than likely, fairly soon. Oh, never mind. I guess my guys decide they don't... Oh, wait. Glitching out a little bit there. So we managed to take down that crossbowman, and now it is my Conquistadors versus that full unit of Norman knights. And because I managed to push through here, the battle's starting to tip slightly into my favor, ever so slightly. But there's still a bunch of Norman units. My Musketeers shaken. But my Musketeers break. The Musketeers rout off the field. The balance of power moves back into the other direction. And now it's just my Conquistadors here. All I have left are my Conquistadors and my artillery crew. You know it comes down to the wire when the artillery crew is what you're counting on to win you the battle. My Aventuros had come back, and now they're starting to press onto those Norman knights, but my Conquistadors, doing a beautiful job, standing heroically for Portugal, are able to cut through a good chunk of those Norman knights. And now I'm sending my Conquistadors back here to deal with those ragtag Sicilian units, and my Aventuros are going to give their lives bravely to hold off these Norman knights. He's going to try to charge after my muskets. The Basilisk crew coming in here. I'm trying to get the center captured, but I can't seem to capture the town center. And there's the Sicilian general, the last to stand for the defense of the castle. And the conquistadors charge in, and we manage to surround these Norman knights. And by the skin of our teeth, and by the grace of God, we somehow manage to take this fortress. And now it is down to just the last stand of the Sicilian general. He's got a few bodyguards of Norman knights standing bravely with him, but he is surrounded, taking hits by the conquistadors, and we slay the Sicilian general. And with that, the last few men of the defense are going to die heroically, but die nonetheless. Down to 3 men. Down to 2, and they both go down. Wait, there's one left still here. There's one Sicilian knight still left. And he takes a mace to the face by the Timurid bodyguard. And with the steel mace of the Timurid cavalry, the victory is ours. And the men fall to their knees and give praise to heaven for a glorious victory. But so much death, so much destruction, such an incredibly close, nail-biting, tooth-grinding, incredible battle. And you can see everyone doing really well on the casualties and men lost versus enemies killed ratio. Such a close battle. You can see we actually got a lot of casualties healed there. At the end of the battle, it was up to about 96-97% of allies killed when we got to the end. So there were maybe a handful of men left. You can see there's just a few conquistadors and aventuros, my musketeers whose morale was shot, and then my basilisk crew. That was all that was left in those 3 Timurid bodyguards. So an incredibly close battle, incredibly amazing gameplay by everyone here. I can't thank everyone enough in the battle for such a good game. Just an incredible experience to play in this. So much pressure, and it took me about an hour and a half after playing that ending for my hands to stop shaking because of how nervous I was in that battle. So thank you guys so much for watching this feature-length battle. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something. Please do continue to support the channel. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll have Patreon coming out soon. I can't thank you guys enough for how much support you guys have given me. It's been incredible to me. It's been amazing. And I just hope we can continue to impress all of you here in the Total War community. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you tomorrow with Egypt Campaign Part 2 on the Tower Project.